Coping with COVID and In It Together present Wellness Wednesday, brought to you by the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina and DHEC's Division of Diabetes and Heart Disease Management.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.
Fight the spread and take a stand against coronavirus. Wear a mask in public. Stay at least 6 feet apart from others. And get tested. Join us and fight the spread. Visit scdhec.gov/COVID-19.
Hey there, you're watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. I'm Tre Tailor, and it's another Wellness Wednesday sponsored by In It Together SC and the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council. Today is February. Well, this month is February, and not only do we celebrate Valentine's Day, but also World Marriage Day and Single Awareness Day, all in February. And it's no doubt that the people in our lives and how we interact with them affect us physically, mentally, emotionally. And today we'll talk about loving and living for the health of it. Dr. Stacey Carey Thompson is a well-respected board-certified pediatrician and child expert who practices in Maryland, helping families through challenging situations. Stacey, thank you so much for joining us again. And I think this is your first appearance back this year, so Happy New Year.
Right. Yeah, Happy New Year. Thank you for having me, Tre.
Absolutely. And Dr. Kwame Fauché, a board-certified family physician, author, and dad coach, also joins us for the first time from Chicago. And your mic is muted. All right, so
Hi, how are you?
Hey there.
Thank you for having me on the show. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you both, and we'll talk to them coming up next on Coping with COVID. But first, our COVID community updates. At least 2 more people have thrown their hats in the ring to serve the city of Columbia, South Carolina. Sam Johnson on the left, former assistant to Mayor Benjamin, will himself run for mayor. Johnson is currently employed at NP Strategy PR firm and an advisor for Nixon Pruitt Law Office. Also, Dr. Aditi Bussells is running for the city council at large seat. The physician says she wants to be part of shaping the future of Columbia after the pandemic. She actually joins us tomorrow. We booked her before she announced her candidacy. She's going to discuss what COVID has taught us about equity and opportunity. State senators unanimously passed a bill to move teachers, school staff, and daycare workers to the front of the vaccine line, and in return, schools would provide in-person learning 5 days a week. The House has not discussed the move, and the governor would have to approve. McMaster tweeted again yesterday he disagrees with bringing them to the front of the line. And then one of the founding members of the iconic girl group, The Supremes, has died. Mary Wilson was also a best-selling author. Her book, Dreamgirls, My Life as a Supreme, is thought to be what the movie and play Dreamgirls was based on. Berry Gordy released a statement saying she was a trailblazer. Diana Ross also said that life is a gift and that she's grateful for the wonderful memories. Mary Wilson was 76. Visit SCDHEC for the most up-to-date list of times, dates, and locations for COVID testing and vaccines in and around South Carolina. Visit scdhec.gov. You can also go to gogettested.com. There you can make an appointment, find out locations, and get your results in 48 hours. Now, the DHEC Care Line is also available. You can call that for information on organizing a COVID screening at your event or neighborhood, plus info on testing, transportation to get a test, and the COVID vaccine. Now, speaking of transportation, if you live in Richland and Clarendon County and are unable to get a COVID test, those cities' paramedics are offering in-person COVID screening. Information is on the screen about that. You can call 911 for info. Also, the DHEC vaccine line is also available. They have a phone number and a website available if you want information about vaccinations. That line is open from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. Of course, you can visit the website all day, all night. COVID vaccinations are also being held at Lexington Medical Center. You can see that information there. And as you can see, the slide before that, folks 65 and older are now eligible to get a vaccination. Now, there is going to be drive-through COVID testing and vaccinations being held by appointment only in West Columbia, I-77 off exit 2. Visit the DHEC website to make your appointment. The VA is also doing vaccinations for any member of the military, former or current member of the military, veterans. And the VA is also holding a vaccination clinic Monday from 7:30 a.m. till 4 p.m. at the Colonial Life Arena. Now, vets age 65 plus should call to schedule an appointment. You can see that information on the screen. Check the info for more information. And again, you have to make an appointment. And you can make your appointment to get a vaccination courtesy of the VA at the CLA on Monday. Kroger pharmacies are also offering COVID vaccinations, and as is CVS, both stores are offering COVID vaccinations. Again, that information is also on the screen. Now, all of this information not only is, you can see that right now, but it will be scrolling at the bottom of the screen throughout the show. The South Carolina Bar Association and SC Legal Services are offering a toll-free number and website for rental and mortgage help. And the NAACP has a housing assistance program to help landlords, mortgage companies, and tenants. The City of Columbia continues their 6-month payment plan for water bills and payment assistance. You can get that up to 75%. And if you need help with virtual learning and working, visit Rashonda Pratt's YouTube channel. Go over there, hit the subscribe button for more information on learning and working virtually. The Central Carolina Community Foundation has over $3 million in scholarships available for students and adults. Check the screen for more information and visit the website to apply. Finally, the ACA enrollment will reopen February 15th. That's right. So if you did not get a chance to get health care before, you can get it now. Visit healthcare.org to see if you qualify for assistance. We're actually going to talk to Rosalind Grant with the Rosalind Goodwin with the South Carolina Hospital Association next week, and she'll tell us all about it. You're watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. I'm Tre Tailor, and it's Wellness Wednesday. It's sponsored by In It Together SC and the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council. Please visit the In It Together website and Facebook page to find out more information on how to manage your diabetes or pre-diabetes. They actually have a class starting very soon. Dr. Nancy Richburg is looking for you to participate in a virtual class this month. Anyone in South Carolina can register. You see this information on the screen, or you can email. The program is a statewide year-long program on Zoom. Coping with COVID is also streaming live on the home of Coping with COVID, which is the Tailor Made Productions page on Facebook. Please go over there and like and follow and share. Not only can you watch Coping with COVID Monday through Saturday at 2 p.m., you can also get your COVID-related updates. We also are streaming live on YouTube. I want to say hello to all of the YouTubers. Please go over there and hit the subscribe button. And we also have a presence on Instagram and on Twitter. I'm Tre Tailor. I want to remind you to please continue to post and share this information so we can get the message to the masses, because this is something that affects everybody. February has several relationship type observances: Valentine's Day, World Marriage Day, Singles Awareness Day. No doubt, all of this and everything and everyone, parents, siblings, co-workers, relatives, neighbors, and friends, affect our lives, both positively and negatively. The good thing is we can and will and do take control. To help us figure it out, we're going to talk to Dr. Stacey Carey Thompson. She joins us, the board-certified pediatrician and child expert, practices in Maryland and helps families through challenging situations. Stacey, thank you again so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Tre.
Absolutely. Dr. Kwame Fouché is a board-certified family physician in Chicago. He's an author and father of 3 boys. He founded Awesome Dad Community to support and help dads have better relationships with their children. Dr. Fouché, thank you again so much for joining us today. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Tre, for having me.
Absolutely.
I'm excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. Listen, because, and I'm so glad, and I told Dr. Stacey, I really wanted a man's perspective. We are very female heavy on this show, and not for any other reason. It just seems like the sisters are more available than the brothers are. So, but with relationships and how we react to them, men are so different than women. So I'm so glad that you're going to join us. First, let's talk about this. What types of relationships affect our health and well-being? Ladies first, Dr. Stacey, we'll go to you.
Well, thank you, Tre. Honestly, I would say every type of relationship that we are a part of can affect our health. whether we're talking about parent-child relationships or sibling relationships, friend relationships, romantic relationships, relationships with coworkers. All of that plays a huge part in how we experience our health. It plays a huge part in the hormones that our body produces in relation to those relationships. So all of it is a huge part.
Stacy mentioned hormones. Dr. Fouché, do men have hormones?
Oh, men absolutely have hormones. You know, they work to our benefit most of the time. They get us in a lot of trouble sometimes too.
Yeah.
But as it fits in with this conversation, the people who we choose to interact with on a regular basis, it makes a big difference in our health and well-being. To Dr. Stacy's point, a parent-child relationship is so very important. There's a study called the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study, which studies children and their susceptibility to long-term disease over a lifetime and shortened lifespans. And it relates to what kind of childhood trauma they experience and to what degree they experience childhood trauma.
Wow.
Children who have a lot of trauma in their life live shorter and have a higher rate of long-term illness. So that parent-child relationship has the biggest effect on a child's experience of trauma. So that is very, very important.
Well, that's such an interesting thing. And I would love to bring you back on to really talk about that, both of you, because I think we don't focus in as much on how those formative years, the first couple of years, have such a direct effect. I mean, I have a personal feeling about it because I have a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old. God has such a sense of humor in my house right now, raising them. And they just came from an interesting background. I'll just say an interesting background. But because I am not 20 or 30 years old, and I am raising them now, I'm having to, I've grown so much patience. That's the first thing. But I'm having to check myself, y'all, about how I react to them because they're just little beings, And I tell you, that's why I say my patience has grown and I've changed for the better, I think, because, when somebody asks you 17 times in 5 minutes, is a cheetah faster than a lion?
Well, you hit on a great point there. Again, it's about the closeness of relationships that you have with people and the ability to successfully navigate those relationships over the course of your lifespan.
Yeah.
It gives you opportunities to have self-reflection and to have self-improvement to sustain those good relationships and to be a giver in relationships and to receive the positive benefits of relationships. And if you don't have really close relationships in your life, you miss out on that. And it does contribute to illness.
Well, I'm going to tell you, Dr. Fouché, I got checked on it because I do want them to have a better experience than they had where they were at. And I do love them. But I had to check myself because I realized it was getting to me. After 10th time, I was just like, okay, shut up. But, I didn't say that to him, but I recognized it. And then I'll tell you what else. And I'm just going to be honest and we'll get back to the conversation. I had to be honest. When he came back at me, he was 4 at the time, and I could tell he reacted to me kind of angrily. He was like, tutu, because that's what they go, tutu don't. And I was like, where'd you get that from? And you know what he said? You.
You got it from you. The kids are always watching us. They're emulating our activities.
Always watching.
I was like, not me. Not me. But I had to say, I mean, it was just so organic how he said it. And he didn't mean, he was just, because we're mirrors, and they're little sponges.
That's right.
We're talking with Dr. Kwame Fouché and Dr. Stacy Carey Thompson about how relationships affect our health. So we said every relationship, romantic relationship, business, friends, even random people, just the people at the grocery store affect us every single day. Why? Why do the people that we don't even care about affect our everything?
So Trey, I've got to say, I'm loving the conversation that we're having. And I just want to go back to something that you said before about how you're learning to be more patient. And I really
Yeah.
just wanted to take the time to say that I think that grace, humor, and patience go a very long way,
Yes.
especially during these COVID times. And so,
Yeah.
as you alluded to, like you can develop these skills through practice. And I think that if nothing else, COVID has shown us that it's important for us to be accepting of how other people are experiencing this too,
Yeah.
even our little people. And so I really just wanted to commend you on your awareness around the ways in which you have grown and your sensitivity toward how your little ones are experiencing things too. I think that's really, really important.
Well, Stacey, thank you. But you know what? I want to be better. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not so know it all that I think I can't grow and learn. I
Mm-hmm.
think if the Lord gives us another day, we have another opportunity to get it right.
Yes.
And I want to
Yes.
get it right for me and for them. You know what I'm saying? So thank you. Want to thank everybody for joining us. Marvell Williams Mendenhall says, love being informed. Lamar Spoyle says, hi, Trey, loving you, still proud of you. Thank you so much. I appreciate everyone watching. Please post and share this information out so we can get the message to the masses, because I know that, I had a conversation today with someone who their work environment is
Mm.
stressing them out, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I want us to be better. I don't want, on top of COVID, and I want to talk about that later, but just everyday folks
Mm-hmm.
in our lives and not in our lives, just people that we just see, random folks on the street, have such power over us. And we have to be able to take the power back so we can be okay. And we're not sitting up here taking 15 kind of medications for high blood pressure.
Well,
Exactly.
we are
Yes.
social.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Dr. Stacey.
No, go
Uh,
ahead.
okay. Well, we are social individuals. We are not
Mm-hmm.
meant to be here by ourselves. We
Yeah.
live in communities. We live and die by the well-being of our communities. It's long been established that people love to form groups to get tighter relationships and
Mm-hmm.
to kind of establish power structures too, and establish order in which we interact with each other. People have Rotary clubs and Jack and Jill clubs and
Yeah.
fraternities and sororities. We're all just trying to form good, healthy relationships and sustain them going forward. There was another study out of Harvard. It's the longest running study right now. It's been running for 34 years. And they looked at men and the closeness of relationships that they had with friends over those years. And they found that regardless of socioeconomic status, the people who lived the longest and had the fewest doctor visits and who were the healthiest were the ones who had the closest relationships with
Wow.
a circle of friends.
Mm.
So our friendships can keep us healthy going forward. And the best medicine, they say, is laughter.
Yeah.
Laughter is best shared with others.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking to Dr. Kwame Fouché and also Dr. Stacey Carey Thompson. Kwame's in Dr. Kwame's in Chicago. Stacey is in Maryland. Stacey is a pediatrician, and Kwame is a family practitioner, a certified family physician, and author and father of 3 boys. Gosh, how old are your boys?
Well, Trey, I'm father of 1 boy and 2 girls.
Oh, okay.
My girls came first. So I was a girl dad first. My
Okay.
oldest daughter is 9. My second daughter is 7, and my son is 3. And
Oh, wow.
we have in our household what's called birthday season.
Oh.
So in the month of April, we all have birthdays.
Oh, my
So
goodness.
Oh, exciting.
so I'm gonna turn 46 this year, and my kids are all gonna flip over to 10, 8, and 4 in the next couple of months.
Wow.
And that's a real fun experience, I tell you.
So let's talk about how relationships, good and bad, can affect us physically. I alluded to the fact that your pressure can go up. Let's talk about some of
Hmm.
the other negative effects of relationships. Either one of you, Dr. Kwame.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Uh, well, if we're talking, we've talked about some of the good effects of relationships that, children live longer if they have healthy relationships. Their lifespan is shortened and they're more susceptible to disease if they get exposed to adverse childhood experiences,
Yeah.
which include trauma. Examples of trauma are abuse at home, exposure to divorce, exposure to a parent who dies or has a significant mental illness or physical illness. So the effects of life on people who we love and care about, they can have a deleterious effect on our health. Stress kills.
Yeah.
Stress
Hmm.
kills. So we have to be very mindful about seeking out tools to manage our stress. And we have to recognize
Hmm.
also that happiness is so very, very important. And a lot of us are looking for a set of circumstances that would make us happy, or we have goals that we aspire to, and we say, if we get to this goal, then I
Yeah.
will be happy. Well, happiness actually is a choice. We are all
Yes.
being blessed every day that we get up and we get to breathe air,
Ashe.
and
That's
we
right.
choose what we have to focus on. We could focus on all the good things that are happening in our lives, or we could choose to focus on those things which are out of control and are hurting us. And the extent to which you make that choice every day will affect your own happiness. And no one else is responsible for making you happy, and no set of circumstances is responsible for making you happy. You choose that happiness and you choose health and well-being. So through all things that we go through, to the extent that we can focus on spinning positively, I like to tell my coaching clients and my patients, choosing to focus on the positive instead of the negative, we are able to push down our stress levels and increase endorphins and that happiness and those serotonin and dopamine that circulates in our body naturally. The more we're exposed to that, the healthier we are.
Yeah, that's Dr. Kwame Fouché. He is a family physician in Chicago. Dr. Stacy, you say what? I mean, Dr. Fouché said, I mentioned stress. Well, he
Hmm.
mentioned stress. I mentioned high blood pressure. What are some of the other things? And I do want to get to how we can work through that. But I do want people to recognize how negative relationships can really affect be detrimental.
Absolutely. And so we've talked about the stress of negative relationships. We alluded to hormones playing a part in that too. And so cortisol is one of the stress hormones. And so essentially our bodies respond to our environment. Our bodies respond to what it is that we experience. And so if we're in a negative relationship that is causing us distress, then our body responds by producing more of this cortisol. And so when we think about high blood pressure or other maladies that are associated with stress, it's because of the body's stress response and sort of experiencing a prolonged stress response and the unfortunate effects of that. And so, to Dr. Kwame's point, it's really important to make sure that we have balance in the relationships that we engage in.
Hmm.
I'm certainly not suggesting that you should leave a relationship if you're not happy all the time, because again, happiness is a choice. But at the same time, it's important to recognize relationships that are not good for you as well, because in addition to, I'm sure, the emotional toll or the mental toll that negative relationships can take, there is also a very real physical toll that it can take.
Yeah. What about heart disease and diabetes? Are those two things that are also affected by our relationships, how we feel and don't feel?
Yeah, that
And that, yeah, it
cortisol.
can be.
Dr. Stacy, you want to continue? I'm sorry.
Oh no, you can go for it, because in my population, I don't see those effects as much that early in the kids, but
Sure.
I will certainly say that absolutely it can affect those things that tend to be very common: the heart disease, the diabetes.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
you were going to say, Dr. Fouché?
But the most common cause of death in adults, male and female, is heart
It's
disease.
heart disease. Yeah.
Hmm.
So the extent to which our cortisol levels are high, that raises blood pressure, that puts strain on the heart. The strain on the heart can contribute to things like heart failure. You know, if we are, you know, a lot of times people are, they eat out of control as a result of bad relationships, and poor dietary habits can lead to high cholesterol, and high cholesterol can lead to arterial disease, atherosclerosis. And atherosclerosis is just when plaque forms inside of our blood vessels and makes it hard for blood to flow through our blood vessels. And that's what happens when someone has a heart attack, that a piece of plaque has built up on the inside of the blood vessels, so much so that it strains the heart because blood doesn't freely flow and supply the heart evenly. And that's how people wind up with heart attacks. It's also how people wind up with strokes when that same process happens in the vessels that lead to the brain. So controlling your cholesterol, controlling high blood pressure, knowing our family history, and addressing the issues that have taken people out in our generations, that makes a difference. Having a good relationship with your doctor, your primary care doctor, makes a difference, and that's an important relationship. Just to tie that back in, everybody should have a primary care doctor who is taking care of their health.
Yeah.
So to the
And you
extent,
should go see them.
Yes.
and you should go see them.
Yeah.
And you know, these there's stressful relationships that make it very difficult for a lot of people. If you go into most therapy sessions, group therapy in a inpatient psychiatric setting, for example, most people are there because, or they have in common, a difficult childhood, poor relationships with their parents, poor relationships with friends, or they were bullied, or someone abused them. And then, you know, they're still dealing with these things many years later because they didn't get a chance to deal with them when they actually happened. So some of it is what, you know, the long-term effects of stress have and bad relationships, but some of it is also our ability to deal with it in the present moment and to move through it. People can be resilient, can encounter hardships and still overcome them and live healthy, happy lives.
Yeah, because we see that. We see plenty of people, you know, that have not come from, you know, great backgrounds that are doing okay and being very successful. I mean, you know, we see that over and over again. I mean, you see both of it. You can see the effects that a troubled childhood has had on someone. And then you can see that, you know, they've done okay. And either one of those things, once they become an adult, you can see how some people react differently or navigate their way through lives better than others.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Huh?
Yeah, y'all are really speaking to something that I am so passionate about. And, you know, I think there's something to be said for coping skills too, right? And so for the population that I often work with as a pediatrician, I'm there to witness how that plays out. You know, our kids being taught coping skills so they can grow into healthy adults, healthy, well-adjusted adults. Or I also see instances where that doesn't happen. So I know what that's like, and I also understand the implications of all of that.
Yes.
And so it's just really, really important to me, where possible, to be able to mitigate that how I can when it comes to the relationships that I'm able to have with families, and particularly the parents of children. And so that actually kind of goes into what I do in addition to seeing pediatric patients, but also working with parents and my parent coaching business as well, Carrie Cares Parenting. So I really just, it's my goal to be able to transform lives for generations. And what I mean when I say that is really getting to the root of what creates these unfortunate circumstances that people often deal with later. Like, let's get to the root of it. Let's talk about it. Because having healthy relationships, we know that it can allow us to have healthy physical outcomes. We can have healthy mental and emotional states as well. All of it is intertwined. So it's super, super important.
Yeah. And going from the pediatric side to the adult side, Dr. Fouché, if we don't get a hold of it when the kids are kids, when these people are kids, then, as we said, it moves with them. We can see
It
that.
does.
Yeah. They're constantly having problems in their job, in their interpersonal relationships, just navigating once again through life. Because like you said, if you're not able to, learn how to relax and learn how not to let everything and everybody get on your nerves.
That's exactly right.
Yes.
And a lot of people are stuck trying to please others.
Yeah.
And trying to please others, just that whole mindset can cause stress and can
Absolutely.
make people unhappy. And so we have to learn to identify who in our lives really matters and whose approval we really need to seek.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. That takes time on the couch, Dr. Fouché.
Well, I get in here deep, and
Yeah.
when I'm talking to dads about how they can be better fathers, it's a blade that cuts both ways. There are guys who want to be just like their dads because they thought that their dad was so great, and there are guys who want to be the absolute opposite of their dad because they would never want to be just like him.
That's right.
And so we all have that choice. But, entropy is the tendency of things to stay the same, or an object that stays in motion will continue in motion unless acted upon by opposite force. Entropy says that we're going to be just like the environment that we grew up in, but we have to act against that, sometimes in anticipation of who we want to be going forward or what we want for our future. And then we take control of our own lives. We're not victims of our lives. We have to own our own outcomes, positive and negative.
Right.
And to the extent that we do that successfully, we can create happiness for ourselves going forward.
Dr. Kwame Fouché, he is a board certified family physician out of Chicago, and Dr. Stacey Carey Thompson is a well-respected pediatrician in Maryland. We're going to come back with them next with more Coping with COVID when we talk about how to manage those relationships that can hinder our well-being and how COVID has impacted all of that for women and for men. Coping with COVID and In It Together present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday from the Diabetes Advisory Council from South Carolina and also the South Carolina In It Together. We're talking about relationships and how they affect our health, and we'll be right back with more on Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor.
Coping with COVID and In It Together present Wellness Wednesday, brought to you by the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina and DHEC's Division of Diabetes and Heart Disease Management.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.
This flu season arrives during the COVID-19 pandemic. Groups at risk for serious illness from COVID-19 and flu are similar, but complications from flu are much higher in young children. Everyone over 6 months of age should get a flu shot to help prevent more illnesses, hospitalizations, and deaths in South Carolina.
The flu is not just a cold. Each year, many South Carolinians are hospitalized from the flu and even die.
Getting the flu vaccine is the best protection against the flu for everyone in your family.
The flu vaccine is safe, effective, and does not cause the flu.
You can make a difference this flu season by protecting yourself from the flu.
It's important that I protect my baby.
It's important that we protect our families.
It's important that we protect our schools.
And our students.
It's important.
It's important.
It's important.
It's important that we protect our state.
Talk to your healthcare provider, pharmacist, or health department about the flu vaccine today.
Every cookie sold in the Girl Scout Cookie Program helps girls learn lifelong lessons in people skills, decision-making, and goal setting. It's amazing how much you can learn from a cookie.
Celebrating Black History Month, Coping with COVID presents a African Americans in the White House.
Lloyd James Austin III is the first African American Secretary of Defense. The Georgia native is a retired 4-star Army general and previously served as the United States Secretary of Defense. Austin was the 12th and first African American commander of the United States Central Command and has been named the first African American Secretary of Defense. Lloyd James Austin is a Black history maker in the White House.
Celebrating Black History Month, Coping with COVID presents African Americans in the White House. From TaylorMade Productions.
You're watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. Wellness Wednesday is brought to you by In It Together SC and the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council. We're talking about relationships and how they affect our health, but want to remind you that if you are looking for a way to manage your diabetes in a fun, interactive support group, Dr. Nancy Richburg is recruiting members for a virtual class this month. Anyone in South Carolina can register. You can see the information on the screen or email her. The program is statewide and it's a year-long program on Zoom. I'm Tre Tailor, and once again, we're talking about how relationships can affect your health, the good, the bad, and the ugly, with Dr. Stacey Carey Thompson, who joins us from Maryland. She's beautiful, though. She's a board-certified pediatrician and child expert who helps families through challenging situations. Also, Dr. Kwame Fouché is a board-certified family physician and author in Chicago who offers dads advice, tools, and training so they can have better relationships with their children through his awesome dad community. Thank you both so much again for joining us today on Coping with COVID.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. Want to thank everybody for watching. Want to remind you to please post and share this information out so we can get the message to the masses. Angela Carr-Patterson says, great topic. Thank you, Angela, so much for joining us. And it is a good topic because, I mean, how many of us know people, it could be us, that are, you know, just are affected physically, mentally, emotionally by the people oftentimes that we love, but sometimes just the random person at the grocery store that we don't know anything about.
I'll raise my hand. I'm not immune to it. I understand all the science behind it, but I experience those things just like everybody else, for sure.
Yeah. So we talked about what can happen. We talked about the emotional, obviously, and the physical. I mean, heart disease, diabetes, stress, you know, all of these things that could shorten, as you said, Dr. Fouché, our lives. What can we do to change that? What can we do to change the bad effects? And I know you said, and both of you said, you know, happiness is a choice. We can choose happiness. And while that's true, and that sounds great, what are the practical ways to change that when you are, that's not your personality? Because some people are just not that way, you know?
You're right. I get the fact that some people are going to be like, what are they talking about saying all this foo-foo mess? You know, I get it.
Somebody's saying that. You can't just be happy. You can't just, girl, I got these bills, and girl, my daddy is sick, and girl, my job is stressing me out.
Absolutely. So I don't discount that, but I will say that truly the only thing that we can govern are our behaviors and our attitudes. So if we're able to adjust one of those things around what is happening to us, I think that is a way that we can try to have somewhat less stress about it. But also, I think another part of it too is sometimes giving ourselves the grace to allow ourselves to feel how we feel. So I hope what people don't think we're saying is, well, you know, choose to be happy and, you know, ignore the stuff that's crappy and all of that. No, I'm not saying that at all. Not by any means, because I do think that there is power and importance in validating how you feel. And I know from personal experience and also in talking to others that there is a lot of energy expended in trying to run from what we're truly feeling. So I think it's far better to acknowledge that, accept it, because then in doing so, we make space to get over it. And that's when we can really, you know, let go. We can clear our minds. We can do more of those mindfulness practices and other things like that.
Right.
And, I think if we look behind the evidence in that longevity study and we explore, like, what is the reason why close personal relationships are so important for living a long, healthy life, I think it's the fact that we are known by somebody, and being known frees us to be open and vulnerable and to talk about the things that we're going through in real terms. We spend so much time faking it, for so many people who aren't close to us because we're concerned about how we might be perceived. But people who've known us through childhood, through school, through marriage, through divorce, through parenting, and they've been our friends for decades. Some of that gets broken down, and you can kind of be real. My grandmother lived to be 90 years old, and she had her same circle of friends from college.
Right.
Until and being 90, she had watched most of them die before her, and that was the thing that made her kind of, I think at the end, she had made a decision that she'd seen enough people die, that was enough. Her time had come and go. And but when people are living and experiencing life together and being able to confide in one another, that's how relationships strengthen us. If we're able to talk and be real with each other, that makes a big difference.
Well, studies show that people that are either married or in long-term relationships live longer, are happier. So what do you say to those folks who are single, which are the majority of the population?
Well, I'm single. I was married.
And what do you say?
I was married.
So for any single woman out there that has a big coat and wants to travel to Chicago, because you're going to need a big coat. Dr.
That's right.
Well, so many married people wish they were single.
You're
and
right.
so many single people wish they were married.
We always want what we don't have, Dr.
The grass is not greener on the other side.
Yeah.
So you have to learn how to kind of be happy with where you are and enjoy. If you want happiness,
right,
be happy. If you want to find somebody who can share in that happiness with you, be happy. Because if you are with someone and they're not able to be happy around you, you'll recognize that, and that will help you to get rid of that relationship sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
So it's how much we know and understand about ourselves that allows us to know how other people fit into our lives too.
Well, on a side note, because you just opened up a can of worms with that single thing, Angela Carr-Patterson, who is watching the show, she is having a and you said you're 42, so you're single and seasoned dating show. So if you're interested, let me know and I'll hook you up with Angela. I'm also doing a show Saturday, a conversation with single men, so I would love for you to join that. But in other news, let's go back to this conversation. Listen, because Dr. Fouché, Kwame, look, I'm gonna call you Kwame now.
We're breaking it down.
Right. We're gonna break it down before we get back to the topic. And it's a conversation with single Black men, because women, we talk all the time. We want to hear, and I know, Stacey, you're happily married, but women want to hear what men have to say, because men typically don't talk. But we can talk about that later. So tell me about this. How do we eliminate, I just changed the channel, or manage those bad, challenging, undesirable relationships? Can we talk about some practical things people can do? I get, Dr. Fouché, that you just have to say, I choose to be happy. I choose not to let this person or this thing or this circumstances ruin my day, my life, my health. But let's talk about some practical things so that people can really walk away recognizing I can do 1, 2, 3, and I can at least work on something. And either one of you can start.
I think it's a good idea to experience mindfulness and meditation at baseline. The ability to settle your own mind and your own feelings. because what we put out is usually what we get back. We kind of attract what we're putting out.
Yes.
So if you're able to get settled on your own, then again, I think that invites someone who's trying to be on the same wavelength as you are. And misery likes company is one of those old sayings. If you're miserable, you tend to attract other miserable people.
Wow.
So, that's the first step, working on you. Working on you and not being afraid to spend some time on your own. I think as one of the show topics was about, what's been the effect of COVID on relationships. As we have done social distancing and some people have found themselves struggling through isolation, that also has given us an opportunity to explore what relationships are really important to us in our lives too, and how many people we're just hanging on to just because there's a body and some ears to listen to us, but there's not really that depth of relationship there. So we get a chance to spend some time by ourselves, and that gives us a chance to reflect on the other people who are in our lives. And hopefully we come away from that making some better decisions. I hope this was a chance for a lot of people to, what do you call it? Block some numbers or cleanse their phone or whatever, because if a person isn't really actively talking to you and engaging, there you go, contributing to your life. What's the value
purpose?
of, there you go.
Yeah. What you said. So what do you think, Stacey? And I want you to tell us what you say to adults, but then I want you to talk about kids too, because you're a pediatrician. So I'm sure you have to tell kids how to manage their emotions.
And honestly, I would say that the advice I have for adults is very similar to what I would have for kids as well. I want to say, like, Dr. Kwame is so zen, and I love that. But I will say one of my first recommendations is to call a spade a spade. So I think that sort of relates to what Dr. Kwame was saying about taking some time with yourself and knowing yourself. But also, again, going back to what I said previously about being honest about what it is that you feel, or being honest about what's there. So let's say you're in a relationship and maybe there's not necessarily something wrong in the relationship, but at the same time, if it's a relationship of convenience, then that's something that you need to examine. You also have to be honest about how you feel in terms of the other person interacting with you. I think that more so for adults than kids, because kids, they kind of have that phase where, like, they are brutally honest, right? And then, like, as they get older, they refine what they say and things like that. And then as adults, we're pretty good at it. And so I think that sometimes the reason that adults suffer is because we get so used to doing that, putting on that front, and it really clouds our judgment, And so I think that, for instance, if you may accept something from a partner because you know that they had good intentions, let's say, but at the same time, it may not be the act that resonates with you most. Like, so for instance, I think that in all relationships, appreciation is very important, right? So Trey, let's say you and I are in a relationship, and I do want to exhibit my appreciation for you, Trey. So there are certain things that I'm willing to do. I'm willing to do X, Y, and Z to show my appreciation for you. Now, you may recognize that, okay, that was a very kind gesture. X, Y, Z is fine, but really I vibe more with, ABC.
But my love language is different.
There you go.
Yeah, it's like you have to be honest with yourself about the fact that even though the intention was good, the target was still missed.
Right.
And so I, as a person in relationship with you, I also have to be receptive to the fact that what I'm ready to offer may not always be what it is that you're wanting or needing. And then the question becomes, well, what are you willing to do about it? And those are questions that anybody in relationship essentially has to examine for themselves, like, what are you willing to do and what are you not willing to do?
Yeah, right,
and having
right.
honest conversations around that. So again, when it comes to adults and kids, kind of utilizing that and having those conversations, obviously it's going to look different for adults and kids because of maturity and a number of different things. But at the heart of it, I think it's all the same. And one thing that I will say about working with kids that I really, really love is that kids are usually pretty honest about getting their needs met.
Right.
And so it's really a blessing for me to be around that spirit so that my adult self can really keep that in the forefront of my mind.
Yeah, yeah. We're talking to Dr. Stacey Carey Thompson. She is a well-respected, board-certified family pediatrician from Maryland, and Dr. Kwame Fouché is a family physician in Chicago. He does some great work with dads through his awesome dad community. We talked a little bit about COVID, and I want to wrap the conversation up, kind of talking about how COVID has affected relationships and how to handle that. I know, Dr. Kwame, you said it has definitely giving us opportunity to be with ourselves, not being able to travel and things of that sort. How can we utilize that moving forward when hopefully down the road, we'll be able to get out and about a little bit more? How do we keep whatever it is we learned or whatever, we were able to ascertain once the world opens back up?
Hey, realistically, COVID has been a real challenge on relationships.
Yeah.
Although I talk about, the benefits of spending time with yourself. I mean, I felt that Dr. Stacey talking about Dr. Kwame is so zen. Whatever. I know. I mean, I'm zen because I have to be, because
right.
the challenges that come up as you live this life and you're taking care of kids and you're dealing with the mother of the kids, as it were, or the dad of the kids, as it might be.
Right. Baby mama, baby daddy. Yeah.
Come on. So it'll make you get zen, or it'll make you check out one of the
and
other.
that's the choice that you say.
Yeah,
Dr. Fouché, that's the choice.
Very real.
That is the choice, because it's so easy to check out. You're like, this is toxic. This is painful. Dealing with this person is darn painful, and the benefits don't outweigh the challenge. So they got to go, or I got to go. This isn't working. But then there are some relationships you just have to have because there are other people depending on you, like the relationship between parents who couldn't work it out. So there have been more divorces filed during this COVID season.
Yes.
Because these people are at home looking at each other, and they were quite content going their separate ways.
Right. Realizing who they've been with. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So, that how do we carry this forward? I don't know. I just think you take the lessons that came with it and you evaluate each relationship and say, what am I going to do to contribute to this relationship? What is important? What do I have energy for to exude outside of myself? And what energy should I be putting back into myself so that I can go forward? I think that's the question that we all kind of have the opportunity to answer for ourselves, for our own health and well-being, as we re-enter, a normal environment once we finally get a hold of this virus.
I love that you said that, Dr. Fouché, because, like you said, some people we got to deal with. So then we got to figure out, how do we deal with it? I remember a long time ago, Susan Taylor, who was with Essence Magazine at the time, she said, you don't have to invite everyone into your house. Some people you can have a relationship from your front porch. It's about how close and how far do you want to deal with them. The other point that you made that's so good is those people who you don't have to have a relationship with, we can make the choice not to have a relationship with them. We can choose. And we don't have to write a letter or tell them anything. We just stop, or maybe you do. If you need to do that, that's fine. But you don't. You can just stop allowing, as you said, toxic people, toxic situations in your life if you can survive without them.
Well, the thing is, a lot of us also want certain people in our lives who ain't no good for us too. And we be chasing them down.
Well, what's wrong with us? Then what's wrong with that? That goes on to a whole different thing. Then something's wrong with you. If you want craziness and drama in your life, what is wrong with you?
Oh, that's a good conversation.
Yeah.
We have to have that one later for sure, because I think that it goes back to what we experienced as a child. That's where we learned the norms for relationship patterns and communication.
Right.
But also going back to earlier, how we were talking about hormones. So just like there are hormones released when we're under stress, there are hormones released when we feel good. There's dopamine, there's oxytocin, like things that our body derives from pleasant experiences. And so I think that one of the things that becomes challenging is you're in relationship with someone who does make you feel good in a certain way sometimes. And that feeling is great. It could even be addictive.
That's a pediatrician talking, and an adult doctor would say,
listen, I gotta
turned
talk
out,
to the parents too. You can take it how you want, but as much as those people may make us feel good sometimes, that doesn't negate the fact that other times they do things that really, really stress us out and that are actually toxic and harmful. And so the conundrum comes from how to balance or how to tease apart. Okay, well, this person clearly isn't all bad because they satisfy me in certain ways, but there's this other piece that that doesn't really. It's not good for me.
Right. Like you said, does the good outweigh the bad? And it's not only people in situations and places and things.
Right. Yes.
And
all of that.
To get a divorce, it's like my divorce was like an 80-page document, Trey. When I got married, it was a certificate. I mean, we probably should have had a prenup. That would have been, more along the lines of, what really goes into being married, like finances and, all kinds of things that you put into that are required to make a marriage work, right? And marriage is one of the closest relationships that is the closest relationship that we're going to have, and it can make or break your health and well-being, but I just bring that up because there are so many relationships that we have a decision to make about how much energy and effort am I going to put into this into making it better. But with marriage, that's the one that you really have to focus on. And so many people don't even understand what they're getting themselves into when they first sign up. And then they look up and like, whoa, what is happening here? But get some good counseling, read some good books. Dr. Stacy referred to love languages. There's some very good books out there on knowing the 5 love languages and understanding them. That's good, not just for people who are in intimate relationships, but for friends as well.
Right.
Exactly. You're right.
And receive appreciation.
Yeah, that's Dr. Kwame Fouché. He's a board certified family physician and author in Chicago. He offers dads advice, tools, and training so they can have better relationships with their children through his awesome dad community. And Dr. Stacy Carey Thompson is from Maryland. She's a board certified pediatrician and child expert who helps families through challenging situations. Both of their information is on the screen. And both of you do virtual counseling for those folk who are not in your area?
Yes, I do. Oh, go ahead, Dr. Kwame.
It's coaching in my arena. It's not actually counseling.
You're probably doing a little counseling in your coaching.
Of course it is, but officially speaking, this is not necessarily medical advice that I'm providing. I'm making myself available to people to try and make themselves better people. And in the process of giving, I receive so much, and it helps make me a better person too.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you both so much for joining us today on Coping with COVID. You gave us such great gems so that we can have better relationships, be better people, so we can live a better, healthier life, physically, emotionally, and mentally. Thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome,
All
Trey.
right.
Thank you for having us. And really quickly, I just want to say for your audience, I wanted to share what it is that I do with them. And so, if you guys look at my website, phenomenalparentingpower.com, you can schedule some time with me for my business,
Good.
Carrie Cares Parenting. And also, in light of being on your show, Trey, and in light of Valentine's Day, there's actually a coupon code that's good until tomorrow. So if you type in Love Trey, LOVETRE, you can get a discount on my services.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. That's good
Yes,
stuff.
ma'am.
Thank you so much. I might do that
Yeah, check
myself.
it out.
Me and this 2 and 5-year-old girl, I tell you, between potty training
I
and
have a 5-year-old. Yes. I know the
Lord,
struggle.
I love him so
Yes.
much.
I hear
And
you.
I
and
do.
They are
Trey, for
lovable and
you,
snuggable, but
Ye-
whew,
Yes, Dr.
sweetie.
Kwame, you gonna give me some a coupon code too?
well, I'm just gonna say, I hope it
Now-
acts as a coupon since your audience is mainly females.
Yes.
I would encourage them to go visit my website, teamdatcommunity.com, and sign up for my free dad. Uh, what do we call it? Affirmations, and have the dads that are
Good
in your
stuff.
life sign up and get that free information, and also be on my mailing list so you can be aware when my book is coming out in the next couple of months.
That will be great.
Right.
Both of that information, all of that information is on the screen. Please take advantage of all of these excellent resources so that we can all live better lives. Thank you both again so much for joining us. I appreciate you.
All
And
right.
Dr. Kwame, I'm going to call you about being on the show Saturday.
Hey, I know you set up a few shows today, so
Yes.
looks like we got lots to talk about.
Yes.
There's
All right.
always a lot more to talk about. That's for sure.
It is. And I thank you guys so much for being so welcoming to do just that. I appreciate it. All right. Absolutely. Thank you both. Coping with COVID and In It Together present Wellness Wednesday from the Diabetes Advisory Council. Listen, if you have diabetes and you'd like to know how to keep your diabetes manageable, call Dr. Nancy Richburg. She is opening up a virtual class this month. We can put the information on the screen if you'd like to register. The program is statewide, year-long on Zoom. Now, if you have a story that could help someone cope with COVID, please go over to the Tailor Made Production page on Facebook and inbox me. We would love to feature your story or your initiative on coping with COVID. If you have a product or service that could help someone cope with COVID, please email copingwithtreitailor@gmail.com. The information is right there on the screen. Now, coming up tomorrow, we're going to talk with Emily Parks with the Department of Social Services. She has got a great program that she's going to tell us about. It's called the Thriving Families Program. Also, what COVID taught us about equity and equality with Dr. Aditi Bustles. That's tomorrow on Coping with COVID. And then that special Valentine's Day show on Saturday, Conversations with Single Black Men. We've got 4 single African-American men, and maybe Dr. Kwame will join us also for you ladies to see what they want, see what they're talking about. It's going to be a great show, and we look forward to seeing you there. Now, as always, I leave you with a reading from Jesus Calling. Today is February 10th? It's for February 10th, and Jesus says, "Trust me enough to spend ample time with me, pushing me back the demands of the day. Refuse to feel guilty about something that's so pleasing to me, the King of the universe, because I am omnipotent. I am able to bend time and events in your favor. You will find that you can accomplish more in less time after you've given yourself to me in rich communion." That's good. Also, as you align yourself with my perspective, you can sort out what's important and what is not. Don't fall into the trap of being constantly on the go. Many, many things people do in my name have no value in my kingdom. To avoid doing meaningless works, stay in continual communication with me. I will instruct you and I will teach you in the way that you should go. I will counsel you with my eye upon you. Stop being so busy and focus on God. That's your Jesus Calling for today, February 10th. I'm Tre Tailor. Thank you again so much for joining us on Coping with COVID. Until the next time, we wish you peace and abundant blessings. We encourage you to please wear your mask over your nose and under your chin. See you tomorrow.
Coping with COVID and In It Together present Wellness Wednesday, brought to you by the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina and DHEC's Division of Diabetes and Heart Disease Management.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.